It's new product time, Lady Ada.
I'm ready.
This is a journey.
I am so ready.
We're on it.
I'm on this journey.
Okay, it's new product time. Let's start off with the basics.
Okay. It's an LED. These are RGB LEDs, but they're rectangular. Somebody suggested we carry these, and I was like, actually, they're kind of cute. So rather than being round, they're rectangular. So this might be good for, like if you want to embed these in acrylic or edge light something. They have a flat top, and they've got a rectangular body, and they're RGB LEDs. They're not smart NeoPixels or whatever, but maybe that's cool. So we have a demo. You want to show it's basically like that video. I can show it on the overhead. I just got one of these, and we hooked it up to an Arduino, 3 pins, and we're just color cycling. But it's just like a slim little LED. I think if you're embedding these into something or fitting them into a project, they kind of look cool and might be a little easier to use. So there you go, rectangular, diffused RGB LEDs.
Okay. Next
That's
up.
the scoop.
All right, next up. We got a bunch of like little odds and ends, little things that plug into things.
Yeah, so I got tired of making audio cables. And so this is kind of the solution. These are audio plugs and jacks that have terminal blocks. We have this for DC jacks, like plugs, and they're very handy if you have to make your own custom cables. So this basically, it's your standard 1/8" headphone audio jack, stereo. You get left, right, and ground. This is RCA. You get center and positive, so you can use for audio or video. Like sometimes it's mono audio, sometimes it's composite video. We also have the jack version. So it's all 4 versions. They're just really, really handy. I might get more of these in different kinds of flavors, but if you're ever making audio cables or splicers or adapters, instead of just like getting every possible adapter from this to that, just get a couple of these, and then you can just make any custom cable or connection you need or want, like whatever weirdo configuration you need. You will be able to do it right then and there with using any stranded or solid core wire.
Okay. Next up, more things to plug in things. This is what, like a mini HDMI to HDMI?
Yeah, that's exactly what that is. It's a little adapter that takes a mini HDMI connector jack and converts it into a standard HDMI connector. Sometimes you have like a phone or a tablet, some other device or camera, and it has a mini HDMI connector, but you want to plug in a normal HDMI cable, because like chances are you all have standard HDMI cables. It's pretty rare to have mini or micro cables hanging around. But you probably have a couple of HDMI cables, so this will let you basically plug a standard HDMI into something that's a mini HDMI, not micro. Micro is different.
Yeah. Okay. Next up. I think I got all the photos. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think I showed them all.
This is pretty straightforward. And there's a lot going on here. It's a beautiful white color.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Next up.
Next up. 8 gig class 10 cards. We actually got these for the Windows 10 IoT pack, and we have a bunch left. And we got them for a pretty good price. So they're in the store. You can pick them up. It's a class 10 cards. It's really fast. These are really great for stuff like the Raspberry Pi because the operating system is apparently it's a little faster. I never noticed the real difference, but apparently it does boot a little bit faster, loads things a little faster, can read and write to the card faster than the class 4. So this is a class 10, 8 gig. This is perfect for burning on OS like Jessie. Also use it for like your camera, your Arduino data logging shield or whatever. All that stuff's also great.
Okay.
And it comes in adapters. You can use it with micro or standard SD card size.
Okay.
There's a mini SD card standard. Like, much like the HDMI, there's also a mini standard that do you remember that? It was this one that was slightly smaller. Skipped over.
Ugh, okay.
Luckily, now there's only 2 standards.
Next up, headers.
Okay. These are standard 2x20 pin headers. They're kind of standard. Like, you have probably seen these before. They're a lot like the headers that you see on like a Raspberry Pi Model B+, or A+, or Pi 2. They're the same header. They can plug into anything that uses 2x20 female. They're handy if you need something like this.
Okay. We're going to keep going.
Okay.
But wait, there's more.
We're not done. We have a very similar connector. This is a 2x20 female socket right angle header. So this is something that would plug into the male header that you saw, but it's right angle. So it's like if you have a board that would normally have female header, you can sort of like solder this in, and it kind of gives you a 90-degree twist.
Okay.
Okay.
All right, but wait, there's more.
Now we're on to the feather section of the shell.
Feather stuff.
Now, so last week somebody even asked, like, hey, with all these feathers, you're gonna have like some sort of proto shield type thing? Yes.
Yeah.
It's the first feather wing, which is an accessory for our feather line of boards. This is the proto feather wing. It's a lovely black with gold plated pads. Prototyping. It's not a shield, because our shields are only Arduino, it's a wing. It's something that plugs into any of our feather boards. It's compatible with all of them and gives you a nice grid of prototyping holes. It breaks out all the little pins, has the mounting holes, and power and ground, 3.3 volt power and ground strip. So really handy for, you know, any kind of prototyping you want to add on capability to your feather. You know, you can use stacking headers to plug into a solderless breadboard and also prototype on top.
Okay. These are in the store right now.
They're in the store right now.
Okay.
Yeah.
Whew. Okay, next up, there's more.
Okay, and these are the required accessories if you want to use the proto feather. You're probably like, wait a minute, how do I plug it into the feather? Well, you get this female socket set and click. You solder it onto the strips on your feather board, and now you have little sockets, and now you can plug in the proto wing on top, and now you have a little sandwich. I can show this off because this is maybe worth showing on the overhead.
Okay.
If you don't mind overheading.
Well, I thought I'd show the rest
Okay,
of
you
these
show
photos before, yeah. We'll go to the overhead. So this is all the different places
There's
and
just
ways
different,
you can...
yeah, there's just photos. Okay, so yeah, can you
Yeah.
overhead it up?
Okay.
Check this out. Okay, so this is the proto wing. You've got all this grid, and then on the bottom you can sort of see these are connected, the ground and 3 volts, so you get a little bit of a power rail on there. There's not a lot of space, so all these are just individual holes. We figured that's the most useful given there's not a lot of space. And then we already have in the store stacking headers, so you can put stacking headers on, and then you know, you can plug this into something and plug this on top, and so you can have like multiple levels if you want. Or if you solder in just the female header like this, you can plug in this wing, and then, okay, you're off to the races. You can put in your LEDs or buttons or sensors or whatever. And then, you know, eventually we'll have other feather wings. Like, for example, this is like a prototype servo wing. So then you would be able to plug this in and add 8 channels of servo to your board. So little snap-on additions that you can use by stacking on these feather, either stacking headers or normal female headers. So that's the idea, you know, and all the feather wings are compatible with all of the different feathers, so you can, no matter which one you get, and we'll be showing off another new one in a minute, you can use them, whether you have like the Ada Logger one, or you have the Blue Fruit one, or you have, you know, the Huzzah one.
Yeah.
Plug things in, add capability, small.
Okay.
Okay.
Tonight, there's more. Besides the star of the show, you, and your fantastic nails. So, yeah.
You're talking about Becky's nails.
Yeah. We have a new board.
Yeah, now I can actually spend a couple minutes because
Yeah.
I rushed through the
Yeah.
rest
So
of the
this is
product.
it. This is the big deal. This is our new product launch that we just put in the store today.
Okay. This is the Feather Huzzah. That's also the code. You're wondering, why is it the code? That's the product of the week. So along with all the other feather boards that I've been working on, this one, it's also kind of nice. You get to fit all the functionality you want in the same feather pinout and size. This is an ESP8266 board that is the same basic pinout as the other Huzzah boards, but has an ESP8266 CE FCC approved module, and also has a USB serial converter and the LiPo charging circuitry. So you kind of have an all-in-one, you know, charge your battery with it, take it on the go, program it over USB, disconnect, and it's, you know, run off the battery.
Yeah.
It's the 2 inches by 0.9 inches that all the other feathers are. The other feathers we did have a 32U4 Arduino compatible. This chip is also Arduino compatible. You do have to do a couple additions to the IDE. It's not like a true Arduino, but you can do a lot of things such as I2C and SPI, GPIO. It has a micro USB connector, and we have a CP2104 USB to serial converter. This one is a really nice converter that, with a couple other transistors and passive components, does auto reset. So when you're uploading using the Arduino IDE, it'll automatically reset the board into the bootloader for you by twiddling these pins, and then you can upload the code, and then it'll auto reset for you. It kind of uses the DTR and RTS pins. And it's got battery charging built in, so that's really handy. If you don't want to have the battery charger active because you're using like a non-LiPo battery, you can cut the little trace to deactivate it. But for most people, you can have a LiPo battery on it and then recharge it over micro USB and upload new code and then take it out elsewhere. And the way I arranged the pins on the ESP8266 Feather is so all of the feather wings will work. So I have feather wings, like for example, that have a 9 degree of freedom sensor on them, or accelerometer, or a servo driver, or like NeoPixels. The pins are arranged so that they will work. Like I have an OLED wing that's going to be coming out, but it'll work with all of them because I put the I2C pins in the same location, and the RX and TX pins in the same location, the SPI pins in the same location. So that's the new Feather Huzzah. I know people were waiting for one that had built-in LiPo and charging and USB serial, and then I kind of wanted. I was like, oh, I'll design, and I actually did design one, but in the end, once I started working on the feather boards, I'm like, you know what? If I could fit the ESP8266 all in the stuff into the same size, I'll just do this, and then we have like I'll have all these accessories that can work with it. So even that's a different chipset than the other feathers, there's going to be a lot of cross compatibility. One thing to watch for is just it doesn't have as many pins, and it only has one analog digital converter. Kind of the deal with the ESP8266.
Before we get off new products and move on to questions, I'll add this question since it involves this one. Here is a question about the Feather Huzzah. Is it possible to stack an Adalogger feather with the Adafruit ESP8226 feather?
No, because they're both kind of baseboards. Instead, what you'd want to do is we'll have a feather wing that has a micro SD card and a real-time clock on it. That's one of the designs that we have, and that's like a one that you can plug in. We might also eventually have like a ESP86 feather wing, but it's kind of like you can't stack an Arduino on top of an Arduino. It doesn't really work because the pins, the transmit pins are the same and the receive pins are the same, so you can't do that. But I think a lot of people, they don't necessarily want to have an Arduino and an ESP8266 chip on the same thing. The ESP8266 core for Arduino is kind of better than the firmware that people use for the AT control scheme, in my opinion. So I think like just kind of running this on its own also has like 4 megabytes of flash, so it has a ton of space on it to do anything you want. So you're almost better just writing code directly for this chip.
Okay, that is new products. Good work. Good work, Lady Ada. You got through it. Okay.
Yay.
Whew. Let's play that new product thing here. Okay, that's over. That was new products.
Okay.